worried that you might be the cool kid? You wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends. Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream? Always so generic, more normal than your friends. Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard. Cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. Tyler, Phil, and Boris. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
It's Monday, and you know what that means? It's time for the It's Canon Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things comics, movies, video games, Lego, trading cards, cell phones, bottles of water, cameras, light strobes, doesn't matter. If it survives in this world, we've got you covered, and we'll talk about it. And the best part of it all is that it's all in canon. Welcome, everyone, to this new incarnation of the It's Canon Podcast. As always, I am your host, and this week, I am joined by Phil.
Who are you people, and what have you done with the other people?
Yes, we're back.
Feels weird, man.
It does feel weird. Honestly, I don't know if you saw the huge smile that I had on my face when that theme started. Yeah. That's literally the first time I've heard that theme since September. It is not only episode 100 of the It's Canon Podcast, Season 4, Episode 100. Not only are we back, not only am I chatting with you, Phil, but we are expanding. We're getting bigger. It's all coming together in this awesome time here on the It's Canon Podcast. I'm super excited, as I'm sure that you can tell. So I do want to say thank you to all of our listeners over the years. It's been crazy. It's been a journey. Started this podcast way back in 2015 with Kyle and Tyler. Worked on it for a few years, took a bit of a break, came back in 2020, to kind of, I guess, geek therapy, getting our mind off of the pandemic and everything that was happening and lockdowns and all that fun stuff, which just feels like so long ago. That's when Phil joined me, and I've known Phil for years and years and years, and you've probably heard us on the soccer podcast, among other things. And I'm just so happy that we're back, and Tyler is going to be back next week. We'll talk about that next week with him, but Tyler, always in our thoughts. Hopefully you're feeling better each and every single day, but we are back. Like I mentioned, I talk about expansion. I talk about us growing. That's right. We are now on the Sunday night's main event Patreon feed. It's such an honor to be able to give this show some extra TLC, some extra tender love and care. And I'm really looking forward to things. And this week, it is a free preview week where every single show on the SNME radio feed is free. And that is brought to you by Total Sports. You can find them at totalsportscards.com, the best place for collectibles and sports cards and everything in between. That's totalsportscards.com. And Phil, we have so many shows debuting this week. We are expanding from just wrestling. You still got all the wrestling podcasts, but let's just quickly run through everything that is coming out here on SNME Radio. You got BAM Weekly, which features myself and Matt. We talk all things sports and wrestling. In terms of the wrestling, everyone talks about AEW and WWE. We talk about everyone else. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, NWA, Stardom, and more. You got Tuesday Morning Cooked, which is your Monday Night Raw review with Mike McGuire and Joe Aguinaldo. It's the best damn Raw review on the internet. On Tuesdays, we have Steve Swift's Rambling AEW Dark review, which is more of a comedic and kind of condensed review show. Really looking forward to that. On Tuesday nights, Wednesday mornings, we have NXT Talk featuring myself and Matt as we talk all things WWE NXT. Also on Wednesday, we have Steve Swiss Ramblin' AEW Dark Elevation review. That leads us into All Elite Weekly, which is your old F's, Joe and Mouth, the legendary Dandemouth Lavransky as they talk all things AEW. Then we got Steven's Wrestling Journey. We have Dr. Mouth's Rock and Roll Lunch Party. The Godfathers of Podcasting, which is another pop culture show more on the interview side, and that's actually presented by the originators of this very brand, Donnie Da Silva and Chris Tidwell. They have amazing guests. Also, we're going to have Setting the Standard, which is a bi-weekly show, which has Uncle Bobby B and The Standard, Matthew Grant, as we talk about Matthew Grant's journey from referee to professional wrestler here in the Ontario wrestling scene once a month. Dark Side of the Elite presents AEWTF, which is a month look in everything AEW. Friday nights, the Smack Daddies, the East Coast Dads, give you a SmackDown review. Saturdays, the Rampage Ramble, where I talk all things AEW Rampage. We have Looking Back on It, which gives us a album review show from the 90s to the early 2000s. And then we have MLW Rewind, and this leads us right into Sunday, which is Sunday night's main event on TSN and iHeartRadio. And that is the flagship show hosted by Mike McGuire each and every single week. And that brings us back to Monday, where it is us, Phil, here on the It's Canon Podcast. Oh my God, that was a lot.
That's a mouthful, man. That is a mouthful.
Isn't it?
Can you go over the middle ones again?
No,
I'm kidding,
I cannot.
To be honest, like, it's great to be here, and I'm still getting used to it. It came about very quickly, and we're really happy to be bringing this show on board and looking forward to many hours of hijinks and hilarity with pop culture and all the geekdom that we touch on.
Exactly. Oh man, it feels so good to be back. You know, I said it on BAM earlier. If you've listened to this show for a second or a million hours, I just want to thank you. And everyone that's new, you can find us at itscanonpodcast.com. You can find every episode and then some at itscanonpodcast.com. Phil will have the full rundown later on in the show. But Phil, without further ado, and because I need a drink of water, how are you?
I'm doing well. You know what? It's been weird because we tried on our sports cap for a while and did that, which was a lot of fun. And now we're doing this again, which is very much needed. And to be honest, like, I'm very thankful as well to all the listeners who stuck with it, all the new listeners who are coming on board and whatnot and checking out what it is that we do here on It's Canon Podcast. But yeah, it's been a lot of geekdom, man, a lot of video games. I'll tell you, a lot of video games and a lot of that geek roundout, right? Like The Last of Us, which we're probably going to talk about today. There's just been a lot of content to consume, right? And like in the Star Wars world, we're just kicking out the jams right now, and that's like we missed a lot.
Yes.
Ourselves with Obi-Wan Kenobi, with Andor, and now we have Bad Batch season 2, which is going to overlap with Mandalorian kickstarting here in a month. And then we have MLS season starting up in under a month.
Yes.
So
MLS.
like,
MLS. Dude, I can't wait until we talk MLS because I really want to talk about that TV contract that they have with Apple, because as amazing as it is on paper and for today, I think no one's taking a look at the long-term growth of the actual league itself. So we're going to be talking about that shortly. I think, you know what the thing is? Everyone is trying so hard to capitalize on 2026 today that no one is thinking beyond 2026.
Yeah. And here's the thing though, like, you know, not to steal the thunder from it, but man, oh man, that, what is it, $1 billion fee that they paid for 10 years?
Yeah.
And you just think about the fact that that's 10 years of worldwide exclusivity.
Yep.
So if you're talking about a guy like, I don't know, Messi, possibly swinging into a marketplace like, I don't know, let's think about Miami or something, it gets crazy. very fast.
Yep.
Because
amount of
that's
money.
the rest of the world wanting to watch, right?
Yep.
And that's creating a lot of cash.
Yeah. And like, the bigger conversation to have with that is this the future of sports programming? Are we moving away from traditional cable, right? Like in the States, TNT seems to be renewing and getting everything right now. They have the rights to the US national team. They got the NHL. They've had NBA for a while. Is this the beginning of the end of that? Are the Apples, the Amazons, the whomever on the streaming side of the world, are they going to slowly take over sports? And like, again, how do you grow that? How does that grow from a grassroots? Because you're literally taking away from your local stations so that you can have it on this national platform. And I don't know. There's so much to decompress and unpack from that. There's just so many layers to that onion. And I really want to, if you've never heard us before, we go in depth and we do our research most of the time. Some of the time, Tyler likes doing it.
Tyler loves the research.
He does.
We love talking about it, right?
Yeah, but I want to unpack that one properly because there's numbers that we got to look at, and dollars and figures, and I want to see kind of what TNT is doing. Try to extrapolate and find out what their future is going to look like. But man, it's such a wonderful thing there. So yeah, here on the It's Canon Podcast, that's the beauty, right? It's called the It's Canon Podcast because if it happens in this world, happens in this universe, if it happens in a galaxy far, far away, we're going to be talking about it here. So that's kind of how I get away with literally talking about whatever the heck I feel like.
We're just
any given day.
Wetting the whistle. We're just letting people know what else is cooking in the frying pan.
Oh,
you
man.
Know what I'm saying?
I'm so excited to have Tyler back. I know that things have been up and down with him. I'll let him tell everyone what's going on in the life of Tyler, but I'm so happy that he's going to be back next week. And I just love the fact that we're already cooking up future episodes. And I think I got his jollies going from a 6 to 12 when I brought up AI.
Yeah, exactly. That hit overdrive when you hit that one. I was like, oh, we just hit the money mark. And, I use these opportunities. I don't think I hide it very much. I use them as educational opportunities just as much as you guys. Like, I lightly scrape a topic and then I see where the onion peels in our discussion to start forming opinions and whatnot. So I've been deliberately avoiding all of this AI chatter that's been going on because honestly, it's borderline terrifying.
It is.
And it's just so much is happening so fast with this open chat stuff. And
Dude,
my goodness, I can't imagine.
If I were Alphabet, Google, whatever you want to call them, I would be nervous as all hell because that is literally Google's bread and butter. At the end of the day, it's their search engine and their SEO and their advertisement, which makes Google the powerhouse that it is, right? But this chat API and all that stuff, it is scary. Like, is Google in a position to compete with them?
I don't think so. And from all accounts, everything that I've been reading about and whatnot has been Google's doubling down on better than they thought hardware sales with the Pixel 7. So I'm just wondering if they are backing into a transitionary spot of much like Apple right now in terms of hardware in order to help sidestep some of this. But I know the CEO's freaked out. Like, apparently they've been putting out memo after memo, just basically freaking out about AI and how quickly this stuff is advancing.
Well,
so
that things are that it's on their forefront and the front of their mind when they let go of thousands of employees, and in the memo that they sent is like, by the way, we're doubling down on AI and that stuff. So get ready, guys.
And just think, months ago, what was all the speculation that one of the guys who works in the AI area of Google was claiming that they had sentience with one of the chatbots. So Google looked like, at that point, I was thinking Google looked like they're way ahead of the race. And then they tried to tamp it down. They said, oh, this guy's wrong. We got our stuff wrong. We're going to back away from this, shut him up, pay him off, whatever. And then this open chat thing comes along, and wow.
Yeah. There's so many layers to the AI stuff too, right? Because we have the chat, the chat APIs and all that, that stuff, which you can have fun with. It's scary, but then there's licensing, right? And the whole art side of it, and that's a whole conversation that I cannot wait to have with Tyler. So we have that coming. We're gonna be talking open licenses. D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, have made tons of noise in the start of the year, and they said, we own everything. Then they backed down essentially over the, after a little while. But I still think changes are coming, but we'll see exactly what's going on. But everything going on with Dungeons and Dragons right now, because it's just crazy, right? And everyone is kind of protecting their IP right now. And that's at the end of the day what this is about. They claim they're protecting their IP. They just want to monetize on everyone else's work.
Well, they got caught in a lot of double standards, and congratulations to the community for calling them out on it, because they got them to back down and revert back to the old terms and conditions. But in the new terms and conditions that they were trying to rush through, and then they magically said, oh, this is just a draft, which it never had the word draft in it anywhere. It basically said, if you're not making a lot of money with it or doing anything over $700,000 a year, I forget the exact number, but it was like some, pretty good number. Like, okay, if you're making more than this, we want 25% of what you're doing. Oh, and by the way, there's another clause in here that's buried in there that says we own your image, we own any content that you've created, and we can use it at our discretion. If we want to pull out a 10-story, ad campaign with your face on it playing D&D on Twitch, that we can do that.
Yeah.
And that's what people were upset about, right? And a lot more. It's a complicated community, and they've evolved.
It's crazy because this is a community that was like shunned for so long, right? And basically since like Critical Role, especially Stranger Things, and those things, the D&D community is starting to grow. You have the movie that's coming out, which is getting a lot of attention and eyes on D&D as the geek and pop culture kind of fandom becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and more prevalent and becomes, pop culture. Then, these companies are just taking advantage of that, right? But like you had, who I felt sorry for throughout all of this licensing stuff, and that's the peeps from Critical Role.
Well, apparently they have a separate deal cut.
They do
with Magic the Gathering or Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah,
a subsidiary basically of Hasbro, right?
Yeah.
So they've got their own deal. So I think that they were being really strategic in what they were releasing as statements.
What I mean, because on one hand, they have another deal, fantastic, but they can't piss off their audience, so they got to kind of side with their audience, but they also can't piss off, the hand that feeds them. So they were kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
And a lot of people migrated over to Pathfinder. There's a lot of different options that are on the market. Hell, I've never really played D&D recently, and I've been thinking about wanting to get back into it. So I kind of want to go down the Star Wars route. We interviewed Keith Capel on here about The Mandalorian a couple of years ago, and he's one of the main writers of it and whatnot. But unfortunately, they're having some kind of book and printing issue that apparently is starting to get behind them. They've got new printing versions coming out. I'm waiting for them to hit places like Amazon because I'm having a difficult time tracking them down in my neck of the woods. But I actually downloaded a Pathfinder video game on Xbox because I was just like, well, this is apparently what everybody's going to go to, right? Yep. Like I'm looking at all this controversy and everyone's throwing around Pathfinder and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, I'll grab this Pathfinder video game. Still haven't played it, to be honest, but it's just, it was a pretty hard 2 weeks there. Yeah. The revolt was on, man.
Well, this is also a reminder that D&D is just one tabletop game that you can play. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of them, including hundreds and hundreds written by our very own Tyler, right? Like
Exactly.
there's just so many.
He's the person I want to talk to about some of those alternatives, right? Because I know my recollection or my knowledge of that industry is a pittance compared to his, and that's just even with his own book of creation. So it's a fascinating journey into, to me, honestly, the thing that I wanted to rant about was about Hasbro. And Hasbro have turned down a pretty dark lane right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know what's going on with their toys.
Well, hold on. Let's take a step back. I don't know. And then again, we'll go into much more detail. We're kind of just scraping, giving you a little preview of what we talk about here on the It's Canon podcast. Everything they've done with Magic the Gathering. That community is ruined, angry, upset, pissed. Any synonym you can use about angry, that's what that community is right now with Hasbro and Magic the Gathering, because essentially what was going on with Dungeons and Dragons already happened to Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, it's greedy execs. But what they've done to Hasbro have done to the toy collecting community is absolutely atrocious. And I wasn't aware that this had happened. So Dopey Me goes into Toys R Us. And yes, we still have Toys R Us here in Canada. Dopey Me goes into Toys R Us and, oh, look, there's a Mandalorian in a Christmas garb. Oh, look, he's got a little baby Grogu with him. Oh, this is nice. Black Series 6-inch figure. How much is this? $75.
Ooh.
I'm like, oh, that's got to be a mistake. Or how limited is this? Oh, look, here's another Black Series 6-inch figure. That one, $50. Non-special colored. Oh, okay. Go over to the 3-inch collection. Those are $50 now. And I'm serious. I go to Walmart and they want $50 to $70. Like, it is unreal. And now people are getting mad. I see it on Twitter all the time where people are like, it's too expensive to collect this stuff. And like the props that I collect, the Black Series props, like the helmets and the lightsabers and all that, they have been steadily increasing. It's now to the point where I was buying master replica Darth Vader swords, laser swords, for $200 Canadian, and I get inflation and things happen. But these things kind of went up to the Hasbro Black Series around $250. I can tell you, like that Din Djarin, the Darksaber that I bought, that was $450. And that was before all this inflation stuff started hitting. These helmets I pre-ordered over a year ago for $250, and they're sitting on store shelves right now at $330.
Yep.
Because of inflation increases. So it's just criminal what's and they've just changed strategy. They've changed boxes, they've made some of the sculpts better, I guess, and more accurate. There are improvements to my knowledge, but as a consumer, as a guy with boxes and boxes and boxes of these, I'm just like, no, I'll go buy my expensive Lego. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, and that I've been valuing some of my collection and that in my spare time. I have some minifigs in there that are over $400.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, the marketplace is a nutty place. If you can get that for any of it.
Well,
that's
okay.
The question.
That's exactly it, right? Like, you know that I have that Green Ranger, the spear, right? Like the original Green Ranger spear, right? That toy?
Yeah.
That's what I was looking at back there. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? Because I wanted to make sure it is Hasbro. It is a Hasbro toy. Honestly, my brother got that for me for like $40. Now it's impossible to find for less than like $400.
Yeah, but that's the world of collecting.
Now,
you know, like that's scarcity and demand.
Yeah, and
when they do it from the manufacturer, that's when I get pissed.
That's the point I'm trying to make, right? That's a thing where collecting now is just crazy, right? And these companies, the manufacturers, they're capitalizing on the collectors.
Yes.
And you know, here's the thing that gets to me the most. And this is where like our generation, we're not the same generation, but you know, our generation, for lack of a better term, we've ruined the toy market because where are the toys for the kids now?
Oh, I know. You go into the aisle at Walmart and whatnot. Like the boys are here and the men are here. Like you can tell. There's Transformers and whatnot. Kids aren't playing with that, but all the old guys like me that were like, I could never afford a Optimus Prime. You're thumbing one for $250 now, which seems approachable for some reason. But it's the same thing with Lego. Lego have increased their strategy so weirdly right now, where if you want to get a free set, it used to be buy a set and get a free set type thing. Like, oh, here's a promotional set. The last promotion that they ran on Black Friday, the minimum buy-in to get the promotional set was 300 Canadian dollars. And they limited what sets you could buy.
That's crazy.
So, and it's just for a little Lego house set.
Now,
like it's unbelievable.
I think we should also like set the stage that you are an avid Lego collector.
I'm an avid Star Wars Lego collector. Yes. So
yes.
My big set that a friend of mine I'm working out purchasing over the Christmas break, she mistakenly bought. Hi, Lydia. She mistakenly bought a Cantina set, and I purchased it off of her, and that's a $500 big boy set.
Damn.
So my first Master Builder play set.
Behind me, I don't know if you can tell because it's a little dark in my room, I got the Boba Fett Lego helmet.
Ah, nice. Oh, I've got that in box downstairs.
Yeah, mine's still in the box, never been open. The only Lego that I really collect are Batmobiles. And by God, I am going to buy that Batwing. I still haven't bought it. I still haven't bought the Lego Batman 1989 Batwing. I still haven't.
I think it's retired now, dude.
I can still get it, though. You can still get it at a somewhat reasonable price. That's my next big purchase. But yeah, I have the Boba Fett that my nephew, hey Alex, and my brother. I don't know if my brother listens. I doubt he does, but
brothers
whatever.
Don't listen. Mine don't. The kids do. Hey, Alex.
I love it.
He comments on everything I put on social media.
I know, right? It's so funny. It's so weird. But that Boba Fett is something that I still need to build. And again, I stopped collecting big time after the big flood in my place, right? Like comics really stopped that collection. Toys, I don't buy any toys unless someone buys them for me, right? Like, and even then, I'm very select with what I get, and it's mostly Lego, and it's very select Batman or Star Wars. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and believe me, like Lego are shitting the bed on DC right now, or DC shitting the bed on Lego. I don't know what order it's going in.
DC not shitting the bed right now?
The only DC Lego sets that come out this year are a 4+, but Harley Quinn is in it, so yay. Oh, I'm just like, wow, this is really like they're really up Marvel's ass right now. So, but yeah, DC. I this is one of the ones that I'm largely remaining somewhat ignorant on, other than knowing that James Gunn has taken over as a co-CEO, and Henry Cavill is out.
Let's talk about that. Let's kick it off, Phil. Let's talk about this. So much has gone on since we last talked at Discovery Warner. Things are crazy to say the least there. Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon came out super successful, but while all of that was going on, the DC universe was being decimated from the inside, from Batgirl being canceled to other big cancellations, to Henry Cavill coming back during Black Adam, to Henry Cavill essentially not being rehired, to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being let go, to everyone being let go, to James Gunn officially being called Grand Poobah of DC Studios, along with Peter Safran, their co-CEOs. And back in the fall, they announced that by the end of January, they're going to be telling us what is coming up, what is going on with the DC universe. But let's just talk about this. We talk about this so many times on the show, Phil, and I'm glad that they finally just did it. They bit the bullet and they just did it. And I'm glad that they essentially announced that the Flash movie starring Ezra Miller, who somehow still has a job, go figure, is going to hit that reset button for the entire universe. I'm glad that there's going to be a story reason for this reset, and it's not just some random, okay, it's going to end and then stuff is going to happen. We'll kind of talk about how that's going to happen. But your thoughts on the drama that is DC and the DC universe?
Well, it's a bloody mess, and all I see is a ton of outrage, man. Like, people are really confused. But then James goes out and makes a statement about what the roadmap is. And it's huge. Like it was way more involved, but I get it. He's starting somewhere. So he's like, here's where I'm going. And those of you who know the IPs will know where this car is careening towards. Right. And yeah, the Flash movie, interesting. And I get why. And that gives them the foundation, open up the can of worms, and as does Shazam too, I guess, because there was brief mention of that being part of the kickoff, right? So this is all they're taking a turd and they're making it shine, and I do trust in James Gunn to do that. But what a mess it really was at Discovery Warner. This whole brand was just as lost as we thought, as like Wonder Woman 1984 was.
Oh my God. I still can't believe that both you and I watched Wonder Woman 1984 and Tenet on Christmas 2020. Oh my God, what a horrible way to spend that Christmas.
Well, I can tell you I preferred Tenet.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Have you tried rewatching Tenet? Have you tried giving it a second go, third go, fourth go, fifth go?
I think I have. I've caught it on TV or streaming in some capacity, but I've not concentrated on it because you're right. It was pretty terrible.
It was something. It was something there. All right, so let's talk about DC Universe and what is going on. So we have Shazam, Fury of the Gods coming out in a couple weeks, couple months. We also have The Flash that's going to be coming out. And then that leads us into Aquaman. It leads us into Blue Beetle, which I'm really looking forward to. Stars the main protagonist from Cobra Kai. We have Peacemaker Season 2 coming out, which that seems to be part of this new DCU. Then we're starting to get things like the Elseworlds. The Elseworlds is essentially going to be everything that's not part of the main DCU timeline. So that's where Joker, Folie à comes into play. That's where the Batman, that Matt Reeves world, and all of those shows come into play. Gotham Knights on the CW, and Superman and Lois on the CW.
Gotta sell them video games.
Gotham Knights is a much better game than anyone has given it credit.
Yeah, it got trashed because of the 30 frames per second.
Well,
like it got unfairly
trashed.
got it unfairly got ganked out the gate.
Also because everyone thought that it was going to play and be exactly like the Arkham games, but at the end of the day, it's an action RPG. But that's on the company. That's on Montreal Studios for not explicitly saying this is an action RPG. Do not expect the Arkhamverse.
I'm just waiting for that to go on deep discount. Then I'm going to pick it up or come on to Game Pass. One or the other. I know it's just a matter of time before Phil gets to try that one.
I've been playing it. It's a lot of fun. I think you would like it.
I probably would because I'm looking for an RPG.
How many hours did you put into Destiny?
Oh, probably about 600 or 800.
Jeez.
Maybe more. Maybe over 1,000.
Okay, I have a friend. Actually, you know my friend, Mr. Andrew Kapalka, who you got the PS5 for.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, he plays Destiny a lot.
2,500 hours or something on Destiny 2.
Yeah, I believe it. I grinded. Right now, I'm sitting at 1,000 hours in Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, but you play that with your buds.
Yeah, well, I was playing Destiny with the same group because we were doing that online for years and years. It's probably one of the reasons why my wife is now an ex-wife. between that and then before that, it was World of Warcraft. Oh my God. That one I put a lot of time in. Woof. I don't have an addiction problem.
Yeah. Remember Mike and I with that Star Wars, the MMO?
Yep. The Star Wars Galaxies or whatever it was called. Oh, I was hoping that one was going to be the hook and bait to get me off of WoW. And I'm like, oh, this is fucking terrible. Excuse my French, but my goodness, when we had to do the speeder bike thing, it was just like 12 billion credits needed.
Yep.
It's going to be 2 years of grinding.
Yep. All right. Let's talk some DCU. DCU Phase 1 is being called Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. All right, so this is going to kick off with Superman Legacy. It has a 2025 release date. So this is going to be a James Gunn written Superman movie that's currently slated for July 11th, 2025. The balls for giving it a date. The balls for giving it a date so far ahead. All right. The movie is going to show Clark Kent balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing, showcasing Superman as a good hero in a morally complex world. This movie will be PG-13, and we learned ratings for other projects depend on the story. Gunn hasn't really said if he's going to direct this just yet, but he's for sure going to write it. So that's the first project, Superman Legacy. The second movie, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. This is actually an adaptation from Tom King's recent run. Good run. This is going to be based off of Tom King, where we see a much harsher Supergirl than we've ever seen before. This is direct from Gunn. This is because Kara grew up on a piece of Krypton that drifted away from the planet in a, quote, horrible situation where she watched everybody around her die.
Sounds like a rough upbringing.
Oh my God!
I got him.
You so much, Phil.
Got him.
You did. You finally. It only took. How long have we been recording? It only took 36 minutes, and you got me.
And that's the game we like to play, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. The next project is The Brave and the Bold, and this is going to introduce the new Batman into the DCU. He's going to be coming through The Brave and the Bold. This movie focuses on Damian Wayne, the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. It's a father-son story based on the Grant Morrison comics run of the same name, and we can also expect to see other members of the Bat family as well. So there you go, Damian Wayne making his big screen debut. Damian Wayne's been in a lot of media as of late. Like, I think he's becoming the big Robin right now, right? Like, Tim Drake is kind of taking a back seat. Obviously, you got Nightwing, and then, well, Red Hood is Red Hood.
Well, this is way more into the Batverse than I've ever been. I'm still thinking Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, right? So I was getting my head around Robert Pattinson donning the cowl. So I'm like, does he have kids that he can play Batman? By the time they make this movie, they'll be ready.
Sure enough.
Because this is ambitious. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm sitting there going, man, Marvel make movies like 3 a quarter, it seems like, in DC. And I think it's better to do it like this. I think it's better to plot it out and to drive it in with the fans, because they are doing shows like the Elsewhere and all that stuff, right? Like, they are satisfying the demand on the multi-tap front. So, yep. Interesting. And I'm going to be there all the way for Pathfinder or for Peacemaker.
We're also getting a Swamp Thing movie finally. This is going to explore the character's dark origins. Not much is known. And then we know that we're going to get something on the Authority, which will move a lot of Wildstorm characters into the DCU. Wildstorm used to be part of Image. They got brought into the DCU when the New 52 really kicked off. That's when we really started seeing more of Wildstorm. So I guess James Gunn is a huge fan of them, and he really wants to add them to the DCU because he says they are a very different kind of superhero story. That is to say the least. We are also getting some animated shows. We have Creature Commandos. It's going to be on HBO Max. Let's see if HBO Max exists by then. It's going to be an animated show written by James Gunn that's already entered production. The show's going to feature Rick Flag Sr., Nina Mazuki, Dr. Phosphorus, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, G.I. Robot, and Weasel. This is the most James Gunn project there is.
Yep. And it'll be probably a blast, right? Sounds off the wall, but it's going to be a blast.
Like
I'm putting that note in. I'm excited about Swamp Thing because that limited series that came out a couple years ago, that was gold, man. That was gold. I enjoyed that very.
And the
very
only
much.
reason DC Warner cut that, DC Discovery, what do you want to call them, is because they didn't get the tax credit that they got for the first season.
Oh, jeez. Come on.
Yep. Paradise Lost.
Like a studio, knife everybody in the back like Bob Iger did.
Paradise Lost is a Game of Thrones type of story, according to James Gunn, and this is going to follow. It's going to be set in Themyscira, which is home of the Amazons and birthplace of Wonder Woman. This drama will focus on the creation and politics of this all-woman society. So this is going to take place before Diana Prince's birth. So before Wonder Woman.
So, and she's like 1 billion years old.
Yep.
As the movies are leading me to believe. Because she was around like when World War I was happening.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We also have 3 series for HBO Max. There's Waller, a new series that takes place in between Peacemaker Season 1 and Season 2. Viola Davis is returning to star as Amanda Waller, and the show is going to include some of Team Peacemaker. We also learn about Lanterns, a true detective-like series that follows intergalactic cops Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. And then there's Booster Gold, which is a story of a superhero with imposter syndrome who uses technology from the future to pose as a superhero today.
That'll be fun. I like the sounds of all those. Waller one probably sounds like the least interesting, but probably will be the best because it's got the Peacemaker people.
I was going to say, Waller on paper sounds the least interesting, but because they're going to have a lot of the Peacemaker characters, I think it'll be a very fun show. And for those of you who haven't watched Season 1 of Peacemaker, stop what you're doing, put us on pause. Pause. Don't stop. Pause. Watch all of Season 1 because
you can go and actually, you can buy it on YouTube for $20 for the entire season in 4K. So I just did that because I've only watched it off of a friend's Plex because, HBO. Where are you? We're in Canada. HBO.
Right. And Crave. You know what? At least Crave. I will say this. So
yeah, Crave's got a good lineup. I just resent the $20.
Your biggest beef with Crave is that you get Crave, but then you have to add all these packages to watch everything. Yep. They've dropped all that packages. Now it's just Crave.
Yeah, and that's a simpler format, and they do have a lot of content, like because we're going between Paramount with Picard, and then Last of Us with this thing, and it does have a lot of value. So kudos to them. I just hate their interface and everything about it. Like I have to try it again, I guess, but maybe I'll call Ma Bell and get a deal. One of them good old deals. Because that's the way I tried it for a year. They were just like, here, have HBO, have everything. You're just going to love it. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I really do. But I don't like the price tag.
I know, right? Oh, man, that's another episode. Streaming. The streaming wars is just getting stupid. And, I've been saying it since 2015, 2016 when Netflix wasn't the only player anymore. And we're seeing it more and more. Plex is getting more popular, and people are torrenting again. All we need is LimeWire to come back, and everyone's going to get a virus.
Oh, I know, right? Well, I live religiously off of Plex. It actually delays my Last of Us watching because I have to wait for that to upload. But it's a crazy, crazy environment. And as well, the Netflix fatigue is hit full on, too. Where I theorized about it on the show, and we all kind of nodded our heads. Yeah, but it's getting to the point where it's not even worth taking a chance on stuff on Netflix unless you either know you're going to just look for it as a one season, one and done, and you're not investing anything else into it. Anything beyond that is absolute bonus. But look how long it took them to green light Sandman season 2. Like, that was the sketchiest 3 months of shorts in my life. Like, I was leaving streaks everywhere because that was a great show.
Look at what happened to Jupiter's Legacy.
Jupiter's Legacy, 1899. Like,
1899. That's one that I'm shocked. They're not even giving it a second season. Not even a second season. I know,
that's what I mean. And people are getting mad. And now, here's the part that I love when we get to talking about this, and we will. I just love all the articles I'm reading about the outrage that Netflix is cracking down on password sharing. So you're getting mad that you were stealing Netflix, and now Netflix is saying they don't want you stealing their product anymore.
Yeah. Like, you know what the problem is? That Netflix did a 180. They used to love password sharing. Now it's the biggest evil in the world. My favorite thing about Netflix and that company is when their CEO had the cojones, the gonads, the testicular fortitude to actually say that Netflix has never canceled a popular show.
That's like Bob Iger saying Bob Chapek was a good CEO.
That leads me into the next topic. Phil, you seem to be Disney guy out of the three of us, mainly because of Star Wars, and you follow the daily Kathleen Kennedy ramblings of her getting fired. What's going on in Disney? Help me understand what's going on, because I want to talk Indiana Jones at some point, and how Disney was willing to allow Indiana Jones 5 to bomb on purpose and use that as the catapult to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, but CEOs changed before any of this could happen.
You're dumb. Oh, goodness. Thank you to Heavy Spoilers for that one. Yeah, watching it from the sidelines, like, look, the speculation is that Kathleen Kennedy, the writing's on the wall shortly after they drop Indiana Jones 5. They've mutually agreed to part ways. I'll believe it when I see it. That woman's like a cockroach in that job. She just lives through it all. And especially now, like you pointed out, that the great Bob Chapek sacrifices occurred right before the Elton John concert. He was due to go up on stage, and then he got an email that he's fired. I'm just like laughing my ass off the whole time. And then Iger gets in there, and he's just rolling heads because it's exactly what I feared. And I know that everybody here was a little bit, we're not sure. It's going to take years. And you're right, it's going to take years. But he put the accountants in charge of the creatives.
Yeah.
And that's a particularly bad strategy, because apparently Kevin Feige had all of Pixar like waiting in the wings with pitchforks to say either Chapek goes or we go.
Yeah.
So Iger had to come in and put the knife in the back and seize the crown back and remake this thing. And I think that he probably will go through with a change at Lucasfilm, because it just needs to happen anyway. Kathleen is just at an age where I don't think she can keep it up. And basically all of Lucasfilm is afraid to make a movie at this point, because every movie that they planned has been goes away.
Dude, it was so bad that I know that the powers that be at Lucasfilm, and I'm talking about Kathleen Kennedy, the creatives, didn't even want to announce projects anymore.
Yeah. But they're doing well with the TV shows, right? Like Andor, I think, was an unmitigated critical success. I think it didn't do as well in the numbers as maybe people want. But that's well, a whole episode as to why. Yeah, it's a different Star Wars, right? Like that. I was unsure if I was going to enjoy that. And then once I got through the second or third episode, I was just like, oh yeah, like lock me into this. This I'm down for. This is a new type of Star Wars that I didn't even think could exist. And they are trying new things. Vision Season 2 drops on May the 4th this year.
Yep.
And they're going outside of Japan. So this is going to get like, they got the guys who do Wallace and Gromit, like the claymation guys, doing a Star Wars animation thing. So there is a lot of potential there for a lot of fun. and a lot of new ideas. So I really do believe that they've got a great creative team. It's just they got to find the right jump back in point for a movie, and I don't know that they know what that is yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I know that they've been hell bent, and they really want to move away from the Skywalkers, right? But it's the unfortunate part is that it's proven that that's the only thing that's really making money. But I was actually having this conversation with my nephew earlier. We'll talk about this a little more in detail when we talk about The Last of Us, and that's what's the beautiful thing about The Last of Us is Ellie and Joel are characters in this amazing world that's been created for The Last of Us, right? They're not the end-all, be-all. And this is where it is vastly different from Star Wars, where the Skywalkers are literally the end-all, be-all of that universe. So it's hard for you to care on a grand scale about a character because they're not Skywalkers, hence, therefore, they're not the chosen ones.
Yeah, it's a flaw, and it's one that's always bothered me. That's why my favorite characters have always been like the Darth Vaders, the Empire, the Han Solos, the guys that are on the rogue fringe, because it's arguable that the Rebellion are just a bunch of terrorists, equally arguable that the Empire are a bunch of
and
terrorists.
I love the fact that Andor really pushed that one.
Yeah, exactly. Andor, exactly. That was, there was a moment in Andor, the prison episode, the first prison episode, where I was legitimately scared of the Empire. Like, that was a whole new view. And you know me, I've read the books. I've watched the cartoons. I've consumed almost everything Star Wars can hit me with, comic books, novels, everything. And that was the first time that I went to bed and I had a nightmare about Star Wars, like about just the oppressive nature of the electrified floors and the work camp and everything, and the pure terror expressed in Andy Serkis. Oh my God. Fantastic job. There was just so much greatness about exposing the true underside of the Empire so that you can't make that argument anymore. You really sympathize with the Rebellion. There's been times at which, you read Lost Stars, and man, I'm telling you, it's an interesting take too. So I just like where Star Wars is positioned. I just hope that they keep the diversity up.
Yeah.
In terms of not making everything. I have no problem with Book of Boba Fett, but there's stuff in Book of Boba Fett that was geared towards kids, and that's okay. Because I want kids to watch this stuff. I want kids to know Cad Bane if they haven't watched the cartoons and whatnot. I want kids to enjoy Grogu putting the Rancor to sleep and, all of the silliness that last episode was. But it definitely is a stark difference juxtaposed to Andor, right? Where it's just Dedra, and just all of that stuff was just so, I don't know, that soliloquy at the end by the guy telling, like, it wasn't soliloquy because there was another guy there, but just that way that he went on for like the 5 minutes explaining what he sacrificed.
Yeah.
Like that, if you actually go back and watch that, it is absolutely mortifying.
Yeah.
To listen to. It's just like I've seen reaction videos on YouTube about it because people are just like crapping their pants. Like,
yeah,
oh my God. It's almost, it can almost bring you to tears. So I like that version of Star Wars. I like that serious version of Star Wars, and good on the Gilroys for bringing that in. So, and that was a Kathleen Kennedy call for Rogue One to bring in Tony Gilroy when her director started pulling up blame for her and whatnot. And these aren't easy decisions. And I know the fan base likes to hang the noose around Kathleen Kennedy's neck with stuff, but she's a fantastic movie producer. And I guess she wanted her swan song to be Indiana Jones 5. So be it. If nothing else, it's going to put a smile on our faces. It can't be any worse than Crystal Skull, can it?
I love it because people are saying, or with the original cut, because there have been a few cuts. There's a new cut now of Indiana Jones, apparently, where it made Crystal Skull look like, Citizen Kane.
Oh, jeez. Oh boy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a step back. Let's keep talking Disney because this is huge. The fact that, in the middle of everything, as things were going one direction, they replaced the CEO with the CEO that already left. Bob Iger is back. Long live the king. The king is dead. What do you think is the future of Disney Plus? Because, Disney was really putting a lot of eggs in the Disney Plus basket.
Well, I think that the shareholders and the theme parks and the fan experience and the fan feedback spoke for itself. All those things combined, because of Chapek's decision to put everything on Disney Plus, like Black Widow, like Red, what was it, Red Panda, all this stuff, right? Like all these Soul or whatever it was, the musical one, right? All of those Pixar movies went straight to Disney Plus. They got pantsed at the box office. They should have just sat on those films, and released them in the theater for the pandemic to die down, because it not only made everybody just sit at home and watch it, it maybe grew the numbers on their. I think they're a little bit ahead of their projections on the streaming service, which great, okay, but it cost them at the theme park, and that's where they make their big money.
That's their bread and butter. You know where else it cost them? On toys and toy sales. We'll talk about that in a second, because I know Disney is bleeding in their toy market right now for many reasons. But, you bring up a great point, right? They should have sat on these movies. You know who looks like a freaking genius right now?
Who?
Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah. He sat on Top Gun. Yep.
The way he sat on Top Gun, and just yes, it was a good movie at the end of the day, but he sat on it and he made a point to sit on it, and look how much it grossed because people were ready to go back to the theater.
And that's the right type of movie, right? Same gamble with Avatar.
You look at what Disney put on Disney Plus, and they easily could have sat on those. Black Widow is a hard one, right? Just because of the whole MCU. And I know that Black Widow, to a certain extent, because it's not linear in the storytelling and takes place before a lot of the things that are happening. Now, they could have sat on it. But yeah.
I don't blame them for Black Widow as much. Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Okay. Rania or whatever, the dragon thing. Charging people 35 Canadian dollars
Mulan
to watch a movie on top of your subscription. And you know what I mean? Like that was pure greed that turned people off. No, thanks. I'll keep my subscription. You just let me know when that's free. Thanks very much. Right. And even the way that Bob Chapek handled the Scarlett Johansson thing. You know what Bob Iger would have done? Scarlett, we're going to release Black Widow on Disney Plus. Let's go out and talk money over dinner.
Yeah.
Right? Bob Chapek, no, screw you. See you in court. Like look, I got more lawyers than you do, lady. We're gonna come out with this, and you're gonna take a loss.
You know what the big difference between Chapek and Iger is at the end of the day, and this is like just from seeing the way that they handle these situations. Chapek was the definition of greed and corporate America, where I'm not saying Bob Iger is any better, but Bob Iger at least knows how to handle business. He at least makes Disney look like the Disney company is supposed to look. Disney under Chapek looked like every other greedy American corporation under the sun.
Yeah, it looked terrible, man. I'm just telling you. Like, look at what Iger's done since he's gotten back. He's gotten rid of a bunch of people. He's getting rid of more. Okay, great. That doesn't really make a headline other than Disney's making changes. He dropped prices at the theme parks back to pre-theme park pricing or pre-pandemic increase. He started changing things back to the way that they were to make the fans happy. You don't know, like, I've seen people who live in California and whatnot and doing YouTube channels and whatnot. They all swore off. I'm never setting foot in Disney Park again. Like, I'm not buying a season's pass next year. I'm not going to any of this. And they're devout fans of what it is the Disney theme parks offer. Nope. Want no part of it. The experience is that bad. Yep. Like this, the apps, going to the thing for an anniversary or something and not even being able to get a whiff of anything because everything's sold out before you can even get to it on your cell phone, all this kind of stuff. It was just enough to turn people off, and the price grabbing and everything about it. Because what did JPEG decide? Well, if there's going to be less people, we're going to charge more money because we need to make them profits. And he had no IPs to further develop to put into the theme park because he was giving it all away on the Disney Plus channel.
Yep.
And those are all like strategic mistakes, like catastrophic mistakes. And that's why Feige and all them were freaking out because, like, look, and Pixar, because those were the two brands that were particularly hit hard in this whole thing because Feige's got movies. He wants the box offices. He wants the Tom Cruise box office, right? And Top Gun 2, man.
Yep.
Talk about a movie remade as Star Wars. Holy cow. You can almost go scene by scene. Look that up on YouTube. But yeah, it's just crazy, right? They just lost the plot on how to run the business. And Iger's going to be back there knowing, I think, that when he walked out, he thought that there was a gentleman's understanding on how to go forward. And I think he knows now that he has to leave the playbook.
Yep.
He has to write and leave the playbook. That's his job for the next 2 years. Write the playbook out. How to not screw this up.
Yep.
For the next guy.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see who that next person is. But honestly, it's like Bob Iger, he's not leaving this job until he's buried or cremated.
I know, or running for president, one or the other.
Oh my
Keep
God.
on talking about that.
I want to go near that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Disney, it's a beautiful story just from a drama point of view. If you've seen the movie or the HBO show Succession, it just like falls in line with that, except it's not a family. It's just different executives going at it.
Hey, one that I've fallen into is Shrinking. That new Harrison Ford, Jason Segel one.
Yeah.
Telling you, it's worth a watch too. It's not geeky. It's not sci-fi, but it was pretty good times. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So anything else you want to talk about Disney before we move on to TV and what we're watching?
I will talk about Disney at a later date when we can eviscerate and overanalyze everything.
I love that.
That was just all the light touchings
I
the
know.
past couple months.
That's like literally, I love how we've literally gone from September to now in just an hour.
Yeah. Here's the hot spots, people.
Yeah. Speaking of hot
Bob's
spots.
Burgers is still alive.
And Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been delayed 6 weeks till April 28th, 2023. Okay. I'm okay with that.
All right. You know what? Like, if we want to talk about what's happened since September in video games, holy cow. I wasn't joking. 343 Industries ruined Halo.
And I love how Microsoft has doubled down saying 343's not going anywhere.
Oh God. Just let them, I feel bad for the devs. Honest to God, when I make that comment, I'm not aiming it at any talent on the team. I'm aiming it at that executive, like whoever's making the decisions there about taking as much time as they do. And apparently now the engine that they were working under was the limiting factor for losing some features, and they're migrating the entire thing over to Unreal 5 now, which will open up the base of basically they're going to be able to contract it out and get back on track. There is a plan somewhat going forward, but I feel bad for all the people laid off and whatnot because the industry is being mean to them, and I don't think that they deserve it as people. I think that they try really hard and they have families and, they're regular people doing good work. But 343 has really taken the soul out of Halo for me. And that's what I say with that. Because it's like the Coalition doing Gears of War. It just doesn't feel quite the same to me anymore, right? I miss the Cliff Bleszinski touch.
You know what else took to making Halo redundant at this point?
What's that?
Paramount's TV show.
Oh, I thought it was a good show, man. Fearless Fred and I were like, oh man, this is awesome. The sound production was amazing.
Okay. Parts of it was okay, but I think just overall, it was very underwhelming, right? And it sucks just because Halo, how Halo has fallen over the past realistically 10 years.
Yeah, like kids, we used to walk uphill to school and uphill back. But really, though, for Boris and I think we can remember Halo 2 coming out and standing outside on a November night in the freezing cold until the midnight opening to get our hands on the helmet that we have.
Yeah.
Like everybody's got that. It's in the Big Bang Theory, for crap's sake. So there was something really special and magical watching online play on a console develop and having the online chat and just everything, like the chaos that it was a moment in time. Just like, you can't replace that. We all had semi-high speed for the time. And, it was just, I don't know, man. It was so exciting. And I can't believe that they sterilized that excitement out of the game.
Well,
That's
yeah. Here's the thing. When Red versus Blue is still better than the Paramount TV show, something's not going well.
Oh, God, Rooster Teeth.
Yep.
Don't look at that corner of the internet. It's still burning.
Yeah, it is.
But they've all gone on to create their own company called Inside Games instead of Inside Gaming.
I love that so much. So we were talking about Halo and Paramount and the curse of bad video game adaptations, and this is the perfect segue to go from Halo to The Last of Us. Phil, I'm trying not to swear. I'm really trying not to swear.
Yeah, I know. We're trying.
But holy shit.
I'm telling you, dude, I was worried when I saw the Uncharted movie. Because that was a bag of dog crap on fire for me.
I still haven't watched that.
Oh, go watch it on Prime. It's free.
I know.
I said, my dad, get this. My dad loves the Wahlberg guy that's in it. He thinks that he's a good action actor. So I'm like, okay, this has got a Wahlberg in it.
The guy that says, hey, I think I found a transformer.
Yeah, look at this transformer.
Hey, look at this. He transforms. He's a truck now. He's a robot. He's a truck. He's a robot. I think I found a transformer. Wahlburgers, best burger ever.
Show your ass, baby.
He was great in Rockstar.
But so I set it up on my Prime and I said, here's an action movie. It's kind of like Indiana Jones, but it's not. And it's got an actor you really like. So let me know what you think about it. I went down after 2 hours. Okay. My dad was sitting there. He goes, what kind of piece of crap was that? That was just garbage on the TV. He's like, I wanted to turn it off. It was so horrible. And he's like, that was not a good role for that guy.
Now let me call Facebook.
So here I am walking into it thinking, oh man, everybody crapped on Obi-Wan Kenobi. Everybody crapped on Halo. Everybody's crapping on everything that I like. Last of Us, something that I hold on to as salvation, going, I didn't sleep for 3 months playing that video game. I had to stop playing the second video game because I was having nightmares. Okay. Do not play with 3D audio, kids. But anyhow, here I go. I tread into it. And lo and behold, brilliant. The Lord said, let there be The Last of Us. And it was.
On the 8th day, he said,
let there be The Last of Us. He said, here's the fungus, kids. Have fun.
Okay, honestly, since this show started, I have wanted nothing to do with mushrooms whatsoever. No cream of mushroom soup going in my mouth. No, nothing. I want nothing to do with mushrooms.
You know what happens? There's this enoki mushroom. Okay. Here's what I found out years ago. It looks like it's got tendrils, like when the guy,
I know which one,
it comes out of the tongue. These enoki mushrooms. I found out that if you eat enough of those, you poo the strings. It's terrible, man. But It was a horrible, horrible experience. I feel sorry for that washroom at BMO.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. Honestly, The Last of Us has been a hell of a ride. Episode 1, it was, you know what? Episode 1, I was giddy to watch. I thought it was great. The whole Sarah stuff was really well done. The way that they segued into 20 years later and really set the stage for things. I thought Bella Ramsey's introduction as Ellie was really well done, handled well. I think how her character has evolved from episodes 1 to 4 has been so good. I love that, you know, Bella Ramsey got a lot of heat and a lot of people getting upset. You know, the review bombing is still happening. The review bombing after episode 3 was just ridiculous. But I think Bella Ramsey has done an amazing job, and I don't know anyone that could have done a better job to portray Ellie, because she's captured. Here's something about Ellie that people forget. She plays a teenager in a world where teenagers cannot be teenagers. Teenagers actually, or humans seem to be developing less, right? So yeah, she's 14, but she probably has acts like someone who's a 10-year-old now, right? And we kind of saw bits and pieces of this in yesterday's episode, you know, with the puns and how punny she was.
Well, she still wants to be a kid, right?
Yeah.
She still wants to laugh, right? Like here's where my foot taps the brake. Okay, the one thing that I'm a little bit apprehensive about, but I guess we can call it full spoilers. We won't go too deep into it, but this week's episode, at least, Ellie stopped being a bitch.
Yes.
Because she's been really hard on Joel up until now, and it's written that way. I get it. I get they made a decision about that. But in the game, she softens up to Joel a lot quicker than she does right now, because she came off really cold about the his partner, everything like that. So that was something that was bothering me a little bit, but I'm seeing the synergy now. I'm seeing the two of them get that father-daughter relationship.
I think.
And then the other thing was, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Okay. Well, the other thing that I thought I really liked last week's Bill and Frank episode, I full on cried. Sure, it was fantastic storytelling. I thought some of the gay stuff was telegraphed a little bit too much, but you're nitpicking at that point. Yeah. It's still, you know, it was heavy-handed for a reason. Look, I guess maybe.
If anyone saw the SNL skit from this past week with Pedro Pascal and the whole Mario Kart thing, making fun of The Last of Us, you can see that they're making fun of the whole, you know, I'm bisexual. They're bisexual. And I'm not making fun of bisexual, but making fun of the fact that they're purposely throwing them in and throwing it there, right? And look, at the very least, Mason and Druckmann said, hey, this is what the story is about. This is who Ellie is moving forward. Be ready. Yeah. Right?
And Joel is different too. Joel is different than the game too, because that's Pedro Pascal playing Joel. And he's got different character features than Joel does in the game. And the thing with Bill and Frank, I love the expanded story compared to the game.
It was beautiful.
I loved it. I thought that was absolutely heartbreaking and touching, but it was also done to upset people like my dad.
Yeah.
To shock someone into being able to watch a romance between two very openly gay people, and that's who the target audience was. It wasn't really, I don't want to say the W word. It's not really the new wave of people that are so hyper tense, they're so attentive to everything. And I think that even by me pointing out how telegraphed some of the homosexuality stuff was a little bit insulting to homosexual people, but they can speak up on that if that's what they want to. I think that it was used for the story element, and it accomplished that, and it hits on the target audience where it's like, oh, guess what? They're people too, right? They have feelings the same as my feelings, so it doesn't really matter who they love. That's a good message overall. I think that's the positive that, I don't know. It certainly doesn't hit on me. I already appreciate that in my life, I just enjoyed that it got committed to film.
Yeah.
And got consumed on that level.
Yeah, and apparently there's a 2-hour cut of that episode that execs said broke them.
Oof. Oh, that's got to come out. Like 85 minutes that it was. Like, you could argue Nick Offerman should be up for like best actor. Like,
if Nick Offerman doesn't win an Emmy for that episode as a best supporting, I don't know who will. That performance, that episode was just perfection on screen. We've seen some amazing TV from HBO, but honestly, that was just so well done, so beautiful. I teared up.
That was beyond.
And like, for many reasons, like the past few weeks have been something, but yeah, that episode was just amazing on so many levels, and Nick Offerman just deserves all the credit. Everyone does.
Yeah, everyone was fantastic.
Guy, I forget his name. The guy that played
the guy from White Lotus. Yeah,
White Lotus. Armand from White Lotus, right? Like,
I full on ugly man cried.
Yeah, same here.
And I figured I knew the ending, and that's what I'm enjoying most about the show, is the changes that they made to the game. And I understand the changes because the game is meant to engage you as a third person player. The show is meant to engage you as an audience.
Yeah.
And you have to make choices around that. So, Pittsburgh is now Kansas City, that type of thing that we found out tonight, because they need to plot the story out. And if you think you know what's going on now, like I hold my breath every episode where I'm just like tense because I don't know what to expect. Wait until season 2.
I know. So funny that you say that. Screen Rant has a funny article. This person, the writer of the article, has never played the video games, and they made 5 predictions of the show. I'll send you the link.
Oh boy.
If you've played The Last of Us, or if you're curious, go check it out. It's on Screen Rant. I'm sure you can find it if you Google something. It's so funny for the simple fact that, like, this writer, this person, if this is how the average viewer who's never played the game sees the show, I don't think the world is ready for how this story goes.
I know, right? It's... I can't be more of... I even bought the PS5 version. It was on sale.
Everyone is buying it.
I bought it.
Everyone's buying it.
I know. Like, the game sales are up 280%. Like,
yeah.
That's insane, man. Like,
yep.
Talk about, good job. Because I think the Uncharted sales went the other way.
People stopped playing the games. They burned.
People returned them. They're just like, please take it back. I'm not even going to bother. It's unopened.
Oh, I love it. That is so funny. All right, Phil. So here's the beauty, because it is Super Bowl Sunday. Biggest sporting event, one of the biggest events here in North America of the year. HBO has made the decision to release episode 5 early. It is coming out February 10th, 9 p.m. HBO Max. Crave here in Canada, 9 p.m. Get episode 5 early. Yeah.
I know. And what you should do is get ready for that Super Bowl party. Have a watch party for Last of Us. Get some mushrooms. Like, I'm talking about the ones from Metro or Loblaws. Get some
Not the
nice,
wacky mushrooms?
Not the wacky mushrooms. No, we're staying legal here. To get some of those and have a mushroom fest. Maybe some cream of mushroom soup. And enjoy the spores. I am a little bit like, I wish that the gas masks and everything were in it, but I get that that's a little too on the nose with everything that's gone on in the world with COVID and whatnot. And it doesn't really need to be done. So this works just fine with what they've done with our fungal friends who aren't fun to be with.
That's awesome. That is freaking awesome. All right, Phil. It's that time of the show. You know what you have to do.
Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I haven't done it in a while. I don't even know if half of it applies anymore, but
it does.
Boris will correct me if I'm wrong. You can find us at our website at www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can track us down on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcast, probably not Spotify anymore. Really, just go to our website and check it out, or find us on the Sunday Night Main Event. And if you like what you hear so far, make sure to tell your friends about it and subscribe if your platform allows for a subscription. And be sure to leave a rate and review and tell your friends about the show. Let them know that you had a good time listening to the It's Canon podcast. And thanks so much for all of your time.
Yeah, and remember that this week on the Sunday Night's Main Event Podcast Network, everything is brought to you for free on this free preview week by Total Sports. You can find them at totalsportscards.com. Thank you so much if you've listened to the show once, twice, or however many times. And if you're new, we hope that you enjoy and that you keep listening to us. As Phil said, you can find us on itscanonpodcast.com and snmeradio.com, and you can join the Patreon and get this show and many, many, many more each and every single day. Cents on the dollar for every show. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/snmeradio. Phil, can't wait for next week as Tyler makes his return. We're going to be chatting so much more. We're going to be chatting all things video games, comics, toys, technology, and then some. And Phil, do you know what the best part of it all is?
I heard somebody tell me that it pairs well with mushrooms. So it's all in canon, ain't it?
He's Phil. I'm Boris. Thanks for listening. Until next time.